Hey everyone, I know this is not going to be easy. It's not easy for me as well. Remember, try and brighten up, use a lot of this, and don't bring your snot goblin face around me because I'm old, you'll get me sick. But let's try and finish up the best we can because I know it's going to be tough and there's a lot of stuff we still haven't talked about. So what I want to start into is chapter 5, which is sentencing. Remember, sentencing is all about what a judicial magistrate or judge, it's that punishment or that imposition, that they're doing something to punish somebody for what they did. And I want you guys to really be thinking about, why do we do it this way? Why should we do it that way? We've been doing it for hundreds of years this way. Why should we? So we're going to talk about, we call them classical goals of sentencing, the way judges do things. And not to pick on judges, but a lot of judges have not been through a class like this where they understand that academics have researched this stuff for 20, 30, 40 years, and some things just don't work. So when we start talking about this stuff, keep in mind that Samuel Walker, one of the most famous criminologists of all time, said that the problem that we have in criminal justice is that faith gets in the way of facts. Remember, I want to look at facts, not what you think works, but what actually does work. So we're going to be concentrating on that. I've got a classroom full of people. You can see they're here because they're not going to get me sick. So as we go along, yes, Mr. Worthen, you have a question? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What he said was, in case you didn't hear, was, well, if they're not working, why do the judges keep doing it? Because you elected judges, not me. They think they know everything because they've been to law school, but they don't. So let's start off. I want you to understand 4 different classical things that judges do when we talk about sentencing. The first is deterrence. Deterrence. I want you to know this. Deterrence. Deterrence is this whole idea that we can scare somebody to do the right thing. That if we make it scary, that not only will you stop doing it, but everybody watching will stop doing it as well. It just doesn't work. I wish I could tell you differently. Some countries might get away with it. I mean, if you live in a country where they can certainly punish you a lot, maybe it works. But 3 things have to occur for this to work. Number 1, it has to be severe, meaning the punishment has to be severe. I mean, bad, that it hurts. The next one, which is really important, we call it celerity, which is it has to happen quick, meaning the punishment has to happen quick. And here's the most important one. This is the most important one. For deterrence to work, it must be certain. Meaning every time somebody commits that crime, this is the punishment. Think about it as that little snot gobbler that the mom's pushing around in a cart at Smith's. Kids throwing shit around, mom's going, stop it or I'm going to spank you. Stop it or I'm just going to spank you. Kid keeps doing it. Mom keeps threatening. Kid doesn't stop. You know why he doesn't stop? Because if mom wanted him to stop, she'd spank his ass. She'd do it hard, fast, and every time he did it. You get the point. Deterrence just doesn't work. There's 2 types of deterrence. Okay, we have general deterrence. So when we talk about general deterrence, that means if I'm the judge and I believe in deterrence, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not worried about you. You did something bad and stupid, but I want to make sure everybody in your high school watches what's happening. They're gonna be watching when I punish you, and because they're watching and they know this is bad, you're getting punishment, they're not gonna go do the crime. It just doesn't work. Kids don't watch that. Adults don't watch that. They just don't care. So general deterrence is, I'm punishing you for the good of society because they're all watching and they're not going to do that crime because they're afraid. The second is what we call specific. Specific means I'm not caring about general public, but young man, I'm going to get your attention. I'm going to get your attention. I'm going to do something to you so bad you'll never do this again. That's specific deterrence. But again, doesn't work. But what I want you to understand, lots of judges in this country believe in deterrence. They love punishment. They want punishment to occur because they think that deterrence will scare people away from doing that. So understand deterrence. Deterrence is probably the most popular of all that happens out there by judges. Yes, yes. Question in the back. Mr. Haney, what's your question? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know that deterrence, I mean, we see billboards all over I-15. You've seen it before that shows the trooper, drink on this holiday and we'll catch you. You know, they're showing you this big trooper that's going to catch you. That's deterrence. We think that by scaring you with the billboard that you're going to not do it. It doesn't work. People still drive drunk. So understand, it just doesn't work. The next one's called incapacitation. So number one, deterrence. Next one's incapacitation. The best way to remember incapacitation, it's like you're being grounded. It's timeout. You know, you're telling your kid, go get in the corner, I don't want to see you. Timeout. So if a judge believes in incapacitation, it's something like that. Incapacitation, then they believe, look, I'm not trying to scare you or anybody else, but I don't want to see you again. Get your ass in prison, go there, don't get out. I'm just going to make sure you're not in my society for a period of time. I just want you gone. Question. Yes, Ms. McCadis. Yeah, great question. What's the ultimate incapacitation? Yeah, you're right. Death sentence. Judges that believe in capital punishment and the death sentence believe in incapacitation. What they're saying is, you're not going to do this crime ever again because you're gone. Ultimate timeout. Yeah, that's number two. And it's very popular by a lot of judges here in this country. The next one is rehabilitation. Rehabilitation, the focus now is on bad guy. The person committed a crime. This was very popular in the 70s. We thought, let's try and make this person better. You committed a crime, let's make you better, let's put you back out in society. Do you think it's happening much today? No, it's not. For a lot of reasons. I'm not going to place a lot of blame, but to put it in terms that make sense, all the strategies that we employed to make that criminal not do it again, they didn't work. So because we didn't have a lot of success in rehabilitating the inmate, we threw it out. And we went right back to incapacitation and into deterrence. Incapacitation seemed to be the easy cop-out. It was the way the judges could get rid of you. They could be reelected. Nobody wanted to take that risk of rehabilitating the bad guy because, yes, what comes with it is that risk if the person goes back out and commits a crime again. Yeah, we're going to get into a lot of trouble if that person does it again. Remember, with deterrence, it's all about fear. Deterrence is about fear. You're trying to scare the person. Incapacitation, you're trying to get them out of society. Rehabilitation, you're trying to make the criminal better. And then restorative justice. What I want you to know is restorative justice. Restorative justice is the first idea that has come about in the last 10 years where we finally realized, look, we dealt with trying to scare the bad guys, not working. We tried to rehabilitate the bad guy, doesn't seem to be working. The person we're not thinking about is the victim. Restorative justice is all about what does the victim want. I'm going to be posting online a story about a man that was executed, remember, based on incapacitation. 20 years ago, he was put on death row. He was involved in killing a police officer. The victim's sister begged the governor of Alabama last week, please don't kill this person. It was my brother. I don't want this person dead. Okay? So the question with restorative justice is, should we allow the victims to be the person that directs what kind of punishment we should do for these folks? It's a great question that I want you to be thinking about. Restorative justice is, what does the victim need to make them whole again? You know, many things. I mean, you can't bring somebody back from a grave. I get it. And yeah, you're right. Question in the back. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that question that you're asking, Mrs. Howe, is what about crimes against the person like sexual assault? How do you make him better again? I can't. But isn't it important that I ask you what would make you feel better? You know, don't just jump to conclusions that we want someone to pay. because that's not always the case. Some victims or some victims' families, they don't want them to have to pay. So keep in mind, restorative justice is a very, very popular one now that gets the victim involved. Okay? Here's the one that I want you to be cautious of. Retribution. Okay? And I'm going to put an asterisk next to this because I want you to be thinking about what kind of person are you? Because when I look at a society worldwide, how we get judged by future generations is not how we treat the wealthy, but how do we treat those people that we convict of crimes, those people that have made mistakes in our society. Retribution is one of the number one things that judges use. Think of retribution as, not that I'm picking on religion, but this is an eye for an eye. Retribution is this whole concept of an eye for an eye. Meaning, if you hurt somebody, we're going to hurt you. So when we talk about sentencing, why is it that after hundreds of years of politics and this criminal justice system, are we still caught up in thinking that we as a society feel better by somebody being punished? Does that make society better? I get it. We have to deal with somebody making a mistake. But why is it that we should punish? Is it because it makes us feel good that somebody is hurt? And I want you to be thinking about this. Retribution is used all the time because we want these assholes to pay for what they did. Why? Does it make the victim any better by making them suffer? In many cases, no. Should restorative justice be the only thing that we think about? I want you to look at these. I want you to take inside all these different viewpoints of how we sentence. I'm going to be putting articles online that I want you to read. I'm going to be having you write a paper about which one you think that you support the most. Do you believe it should be eye for an eye? Do you think we should take the victim into consideration? Do you think that it's too confusing so we just send him to timeout? Or do you think that deterrence, that we can change our Constitution? Remember, nothing happens quick in our judicial system because we have a Constitution. Even though it says a speedy trial, we have to slow down and make sure they have all their rights. So I want you to be thinking about these. This is probably one of the most important concepts in my course. Unfortunately, you're not here. You kind of are. But I want you to be thinking about this. I'm going to be putting articles online, and I'm going to be assigning you a paper because I want to see and hear from you which one you think is the best to do. I'll try and do these occasionally. I want important concepts to be told to you by me, and then I'm going to assign things that I want you to read. So relax, stay home, do Xbox, do your homework, go back, do Xbox, whatever you need to do. Don't infect me. Stay in home. I don't want to get sick. I'm fine with these mannequins. If you have questions, please send me an email. I know the first announcement I was telling you that I'll be here a lot. My bosses are telling me not to be here. They don't really want me to be here. If you need to discuss something, grades or whatever, if it can't be addressed in an email, just say, hey, can I come and see you? I have no problem standing up at that podium, making you stand 10 feet away, and we'll discuss this. Other than that, we'll see you next time.